So now we need to do the part where we have to rewrite the original expression using our winners. And the whole idea is that we're going to rewrite this middle term using the numbers that we found that combine to make that middle term. That's step one. We'll take this 3x squared, and instead of writing 16x, I'm going to use the winners. Negative 4x minus 12x plus 16. I'm going to break this into two different groups, right? One group and another group. And this is the part that requires the most math in your head on your part. It's hard for me to show you what's going on inside of my head, but I got to find that greatest common factor of each group. When I look at when you're trying to find a greatest common factor and there's variables involved, look at the numbers first and look at the variables second. So if we're thinking about greatest common factors and I'm thinking about the numbers 3 and 4, well, here's what I know. 3 has two factors, 1 and 3. 4 has the factor 1, 2, and 4. The only thing they have in common is 1. So there's no, that's it. We don't even use that one when that's the greatest common factor. So there's nothing I can pull out of the 3 and the 4. But because x squared means x times x, and just 1x means 1x, this is like my 3x squared is 3x and x, this is like 4 and x, they both have 1x I can pull out of both. So I'm going to put an x down in front, open up parentheses, and I'm basically going to do what I call reverse distributive property. Reverse distributive property. You guys are excellent at distributive property. If you guys had a problem that had an a on the outside and a 5a minus 4 on the inside, you'd have no problem figuring out that a times 5a is 5a squared and a times negative 4 is negative 4a. Right? You all can do that. So we're going to do that, but we're going to do it backwards. I'm going to ask myself, like, here's what's happening inside of my head. X times something is supposed to be the same thing as 3x squared minus 4x. So the question is, what was inside of here? X times something gave me this. X times something gave me this. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So x times something giving me this means this had to be a 3x. So I know that's 3x. X times something gave me this. So that would have to, x times that'd be negative 4. X times negative 4x would give me this. So I know that's negative 4. So that's it. And just to double check myself, once I pull out that x that they have in common, that was step 1, find the GCF. Then you pause. You open the parentheses, you breathe, and you think. Reverse distributive property. And you do it just like this. And then you pause, and now we do all the same stuff in red for this group, right over here. So I want to focus on the second group now. So I need to find a GCF of 12. Focus on the numbers first. And don't worry about the signs at the moment. Just what is the number that goes into 12 and into 16. And maybe the first thing that pops in your mind is 2. But the problem with picking 2 is if you divide both these things by 2, you'll be left with 6 and 8. There's a bigger greatest common factor. There's a larger number that goes into 12 and 16. So if you have to do this, if you have to list all the things you can think of that go into 12 and 16, go ahead and do that if you have to. You know, if you can't see that it's 4 that goes into 12 and 16 and that's the biggest, then list all the things you can that go into 12, just like we did before. All the things you can think of that go into 16. And find the biggest thing they have in common. The biggest thing they have in common is 4. Now I'll pay attention to the signs. Oh, and this guy has an x and this guy doesn't, so I can't pull an x out. All I can pull out is a 4. When this first term is negative, you need to pull out a negative, whatever the number is, and the number happens to be 4. Here's the thing I want to say to you guys too really quickly if you're watching this video. This is not a required step, right? I don't care if you show me this or not. But you do need to figure out the biggest thing that divides 12 and 16. And if that's a place where you learn that, how to do that in 5th grade, 6th grade, it's kind of a challenging skill for some people. So if you need to make lists, go ahead and make lists. If you can just pull the 4 out, be my guest. Now that I know that it's a 4 that goes into 12 and into 16, I'm going to do that reverse distributive property again. So in my head, what I'm thinking is, negative 4 times whatever I put inside those parentheses had better equal what was up here. It better equal negative 12x plus 16. So I'm thinking, I've got this on the outside. What would I put here if these were supposed to multiply together and give me this? That's what I'm trying to figure out in my head. Negative 4 times something should be negative 12x. Negative 4 times something should be negative 12x. That's the thought that I'm having in my head. Negative 4 times something should be negative 12x. 3x is going to be the thing. And then negative 4 times something else is supposed to give me 16. Negative 4 times something else should give me positive 16. I'm so sorry, I said it wrong. Negative 4 times something else should give me positive 16. I need another negative 4. And then I would do just kind of a very quick mental calculation. I would make sure that this times this was negative 12x and that this times this was positive 16. It totally is. So this is the most crucial step. It's the most challenging step. It's the step where once we have our winners of negative 4 and negative 12, we rewrite the problem, breaking up the middle term using our winners, and then look at each group, going back to 5th grade math to find greatest common factors, and then maybe this reverse distributive property is a new skill for you. But if you can do it. That's the toughest part. I am very excited by the fact that these match. If these didn't match, it would mean I made a small mistake or a big mistake somewhere. If they're off by just a little bit, maybe I just messed up a minus sign. If they're off by a lot, maybe I didn't actually find the greatest common factor. If they're nowhere near like each other, then maybe I didn't pick the right winner and I got to think about that again. But if I pick the right winner and I pull out the GCF, these will match. So when I see these matching, I'm very excited.